Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the topic that is drug excretion. First of all, we are seeing what is drug excretion. So excretion is a process where the drug and their metabolite are irreversibly transformed from the internal to the external environment, or we can call the removal of drug or their metabolite from the body. So principal organs that is involved for the excretion of drug, in that most important organs that involved for the excretion of drug, that is kidney, or we can call renal excretion. Other than that, kidney, bile, lungs, saliva, milk or sweat, that are also involved in the excretion of drug. So in kidney, the nephron is the functional unit for the excretion part. So nephron is consist of various parts like glomerulus, proximal tubule, loop of Henle, distal tubule and collecting tubule. Type of excretion. So renal excretion, and other than renal we can call as a non-renal excretion. So renal excretion. So kidney is, we can say already, the primary organ for the removal of most of the drug, especially those containing water soluble, polar nature or having low molecular weight compound. So that is excreted through the kidney. So for the excretion process, three principal processes are there: glomerular filtration, active tubular secretion, active tubular reabsorption. So for the excretion of drugs, the rate of excretion, the net effect we can say from that, the effect depend on rate of filtration plus rate of secretion minus rate of reabsorption. So we can get the excretion rate. So first one, the glomerular filtration. So it is the first step for the formation of urine, the process in which kidney filter the excess fluid and the waste produced from the blood part into the urine collection tubes. So glomerular filtration is a non-selective process and urine directional process. It remove or excreted ionized or unionized, both class of drugs that go for the filter, water soluble, polar nature. Plasma protein bounded drugs are not excreted or filtered through the glomerular filtration, so that decrease the renal excretion part if drug bound with the protein. Only free drugs go for the filtration part. Driving force for the glomerular filtration is hydrostatic pressure of the blood flowing in the capillary parts. So glomerular filtration is directly depend on the renal blood flow. Higher the renal blood flow, so increase the excretion part. Glomerular filtration rate. So here the general, the out of 25% of the cardiac output, or we can call 1.2 liters of blood per minute that goes to the kidney via renal artery. So only 10% or 120 to 130 ml per minute is filtered through the glomeruli. So glomerular filtration rate we can call around approximately 130 ml per minute. So rate being that called the glomerular filtration rate. So the rate at which kidney filter the blood is called, we can call as a glomerular filtration rate. And some biomarkers that are used to find out the GFR value or GFR rate, that is used creatinine, inulin, that is mostly used. Other than that, mannitol, sodium thiosulfate. So creatinine is an endogenous substance, inulin is exogenous. That both are used for the biomarkers because they are not go for the active secretion or active tubular reabsorption. So we can get the net effect directly, the glomerular filtrations we can find out with that biomarkers. Active tubular secretion. So that is most efficient. It is occurs in the proximal tubule of the nephron part. It is a carrier mediated process. So it requires the energy. It goes against the concentration gradient from the blood capillaries across the renal tubular parts. So that capacity limited, and that go we can call as a saturated or saturable parts. It is a bidirectional process, and that is unaffected by the pH of that urine and the protein binding. Previous in glomerular filtration is depend on that protein binding parts. Here the drugs strip off from the bounded and go for the active secretion parts. It depends on the renal blood flow. And third one, that is tubular reabsorption. So after the glomerular filtrations, drug may be reabsorbed from the tubular lumen into that systematic circulation or in the blood. It takes place all along in the renal tubular parts. So drugs undergoes tubular reabsorption have excretion rate less than the GFR value. It means if GFR value, we can get more than GFR value, we can get the excretion rate. So that is the net effect of active secretion. If here we can get the rate excretion or excretion rate less than GFR, so the net effect we can call as for the reabsorption part. Exact 130 we get the excretion rate, so that net effect only the filtration rate. There is no reabsorption or secretion. If more than 130, so that is active secretions also taking part. If less than 130, so the tubular reabsorption taking the part. So here reabsorption increase the half-life of drug because they go for the reabsorption and reach to the systemic circulation. They may be active or passive transport or diffusion process are there in the tubular reabsorption. Now the factors that affecting the excretion of drug or renal excretion. So here these are the factors that affecting the renal excretion of drug. Physicochemical property of drug, plasma concentration of drug, distribution and binding characteristic of the drug, urine pH, blood flow to the kidney, biological factor, drug interaction and disease state. So these all are affecting one another way to the excretion of the drug through the renal part. So in that one by one we have to see the physicochemical properties of drug. So in that molecular weight, their lipid solubility, their ionization constant. So molecular size. So that is very important part considering during the excretion of drug. So larger molecular weight are very much difficult to excrete through the excretion or glomerular filtration part. Only small molecular weight and water soluble compound easily filter through the glomerular filtration. So drug with molecular weight less than 300 Daltons are excreted in the kidney, easily excreted through the kidney parts. Molecular weight in between 300 to 500 Daltons are excreted through urine as well as through the bile. More than 500 are less excreted through the renal or kidney parts. Lipid solubility. Then lipid solubility, lipid nature of the drugs. So in that urinary excretion is inversely related to the lipophilicity. It means higher the lipid solubility, that lesser or decrease the renal excretion part. Because higher the lipid solubility, it increase the volume of distributions of the drug and it reduce the renal excretion part. Plasma concentration of drug. So increase the plasma drug concentration, so increase the rate of urinary drug ingestion. So it is directly related to the plasma drug concentration. So glomerular filtration and reabsorption, both the process are directly affected by the plasma drug concentration. Distributions and binding characteristic of the drugs. So here, if drugs that are bound to the plasma proteins, so it behaves like a larger molecule or macromolecules and not go for the filtration through the glomerular part. Only the free fraction of unbounded drug is filtered. So protein bounded drug restrict the excretion part, so that increase the half-life of the drugs. For the clearance is also irreversibly related to the apparent volume of distribution. So we can tell the larger the volume of distribution is poorly excreted through the urine. It go for the reabsorption part because the distributions are higher, while the drugs having low molecular weight have a higher excretion rate. Next, the urine pH. So most of the drugs are weak acid weak base, thus by changing the pH they can also alter their absorption or reabsorption parts are there. So pH of the urine varies between 4.5 to 7.5, average we can call 6 or around the pH are there. So that creating the large pH gradient between the urine and the plasma. So pH of the urine is dependent upon diet, the drug and the pathophysiological condition of that patient. So the relative amount of ionized unionized drugs directly depend on the pH. So that depends on that percentage of drug ionized unionized, like for the excretion part also. So urine pH also affecting to the excretion rate. Renal blood flow. So previously we can say that the glomerular filtration and active secretions, in both the process renal blood flow is taking the important part. So it is important for the excretion of drug for glomerular filtration and active secretion. Some biological factors. So renal excretion is 10% lower in female as compared to male. Newborn, so 30 to 40% less as compared to the adult persons. Old age patient or old age persons, the GFR going for decrease, excretion decreasing. So for that the drug half-life is increasing parts are there. Next, drug interaction. So refer the process of interaction of drug when administered simultaneously into the body. So that alteration for the protein drug binding. So unbounded drugs easily excreted at that time, protein bindings. For the drug interaction part, that drug which is bounded, it displaces with the another drug. So that drugs, the excretion rate is increasing. Renal clearance of the drug extensively bound to plasma protein is increased after the displacement with other drugs. The examples are given. Disease state. So disease conditions also sometimes altering the excretion part. Renal dysfunction greatly impair the elimination of drug that is primarily excreted by the kidney. Disease state, uremia, impair glomerular filtration, sometimes accumulation of drug that create the toxicity. So that type of things happen if the renal dysfunctions are there. So that the excretion rate of the drug decreases. So that time accumulation of drug possibility, toxicity may be. Next point is the concept of the clearance. Okay, we already see the renal excretion part, the term that is clearance. So clearance is defined as the hypothetical volume of body fluid that containing the drug. We can assume that that organ, tissue or the body fluids that is hypothetical volume, we can assume it. From that containing the drugs, from that which is drug is removed or clearly completed in specified period of time. So that is we can call as a clearance. So it is expressed in ml per minute or liter per hours like that. Equations is a clearance is equal to elimination rate or rate of eliminations divided by the plasma drug concentration. Second terminology is that the total body clearance. So this is the sum of individual all the clearance, all the eliminating organs. So that is we can call as a total body clearance or total systemic clearance. It is expressed by the sum of renal clearance plus non-renal clearance other than renal clearance. So that is equation clearance, total body clearance is equal to renal clearance plus hepatic clearance plus bile or etc. So renal clearance can be defined as the volume of blood or plasma which is completely clear of the unchanged drug by the kidney per unit time. If hepatic is there, hepatic clearance, so by the liver. So renal clearance is equal to urinary excretion rate of urinary excretion divided by plasma drug concentration. And already we have to see the urinary excretion rate, it is the effect of or net effect of rate of filtration plus rate of secretion minus rate of reabsorption divided by plasma drug concentration. Another terminology is the renal clearance ratio. So renal clearance ratio or excretion ratio is defined as the ratio of renal clearance of a drug to the renal clearance of creatinine. So there is no unit. Equations we can call renal clearance ratio is equal to clearance of drug divided by clearance of creatinine. Here in the tables, they are giving the relationship between the renal clearance value and the mechanism of clearance. So already we have to see the glomerular filtration, active tubular reabsorption, and active tubular secretion, the mechanisms of drug excretion. So we have to see the GFR value also there. So if the renal clearance ratio is 1, it means the GFR value that 130 we can get, or we can get the renal clearance ratio 1. So the mechanism only is the net effect of is the drug is filter only the glomerular filtration. Example, creatine and inulin that we have to use as a biomarker to find out GFR value. If the renal clearance ratio below the 1 or GFR value less than 130, so in that case drug is filter and reabsorbed partially. So both the effects are there, glomerular filtration plus net effect of active tubular reabsorption. If renal clearance ratio is greater than 1 and GFR value more than 130, so the effect is drug filter as well as secreted actively. So in that case the net effect glomerular filtration plus active tubular secretion. So these are, we can see the drug excretion and renal clearance. Thank you.